Good afternoon. I am Valerie R. Austin and the author of the Student's Comprehensive Guide for College and Other Life Lessons. I wrote the book to assist high school students and their parents to navigate the journey of careers and college. I am also the host of the Employer Speaks series, which is designed to highlight different careers and the paths to achieving those careers. Today, I have a very special guest, Greg Sizemore. Greg has more than 40 years of experience in the engineering and construction industry. He currently serves as Vice President of Health, Safety, Environment, and Workforce Development at Associated Builders and Contractors, also known as ABC, a national construction industry trade association. In his current role, he oversees a network of 800 training programs and leads ABC's initiatives to help ABC members develop people and deliver work safely. Greg is also an active volunteer leader who currently serves on the board of directors of the National Center for Construction Education and Research, which standardizes training and credentialing programs for the construction industry. Additionally, Greg has participated in several national initiatives, including representing ABC in the past administration's Pledge to America's Workers. In 2020, ABC was named one of the recipients of the Pledge to America's Workers Presidential Award after exceeding their stated pledge and training more than 1.1 million course attendees to build a construction workforce that is safe, skilled, and productive. Prior to joining ABC's senior leadership in 2015, Greg led the establishment of competency-based safety and craft workforce development programs for Zachary Industrial in San Antonio, Texas. He also held several management positions at the B.E.K. Construction Company in Birmingham, Alabama. I look forward to this discussion with Greg, where we will explore the exciting topic of careers in the construction industry. Thank you for watching.
Absolutely.
Well, that being said, we're going to start talking about the actual training of these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of a trade person, and probably a lot of people think of a trade person, you think about them getting their training through apprenticeships. Mm-hmm. And you're an apprentice. You're the lower person on the rung, and there are people above you. But what are those other trade statuses? Would you briefly give the distinction between an apprentice, journey person, foreperson, and a project estimator owner? And what's the typical progression of the career ladder?
Absolutely. And we were talking offline, and admittedly, I think it's really important to understand that while the terms may vary, based upon region of the country, typically there are either 3 or 4 levels of what we call apprenticeship or helper. And helpers or apprentices work under the tutelage of a journey level craft professional. Some people call them journey persons or what have you. But a journey level craft professional then teaches them the practical skills on how to do the work. The apprenticeship also gives those individuals an opportunity to do related instructions, i.e. the book work, if you will. And the reality of this is that when you get to a certain level, you will eventually reach journey level status. In some trades, electrical and many others, as an example, you have to go and then get a license for that trade, and then you're recognized by a state to produce that work. In other instances, after you get that, you may decide that, well, I would like to be a supervisor of journey level craft workers that are helping instruct the helpers and apprentices. And so then you're taking the courses that will help you be a better supervisor, maybe leadership, it may be understanding or reading a cost report or what a chart of accounts are. And then you can move up from there to a superintendent's role to where you're now supervising supervisors that supervise journeymen. And you see what I'm saying? So you're building a progression here that is linear in the sense that it's field-based. But I don't want you to think of this as a scaffold or as a a vertical build ladder,
Mhm.
because you're going to find dismount places all along the way in your career in construction that you would say, hey, I never really had a passion for safety, but I'm kind of like in that area there. And I know I'm 2 years into this apprenticeship program, but I'd like to go after safety. And all of a sudden you become a safety professional on a job site, or you start working in payroll, or you start working in the cost department, or accounts receivables or payables. And then eventually you move into these field-based opportunities. A lot of people just think, well, you're stuck with a wrench in your hand the rest of your life. No, it's not the case. It's not the case. Estimators are some of the smartest people in the world that have worked their way up off of tools. Why? Because they know what it costs to do the work. And so they're the best people to put the estimate together.
Okay.
So it goes on like that when you begin to think about it's a very complex system. And then when you put higher ed, because they're our partners too, they produce good construction management programs. This week, as a matter of fact, we're in the middle of our virtual construction management competition where the best schools in the world have their students competing in a competition designed around cost and schedule and quality and safety and these types of things. So they're teaching it top to bottom, and we teach it from the bottom up.
Well, let me ask you this. So this competition, are they building a virtual building, and then they're looking at how much it costs and what are the ramifications of building? What do you mean the competition for that? What does that mean?
So just imagine that they are given a scope of work. Now, this project has already been built. We know exactly the all-in costs. We know how
the answers.
Yeah, we know the answers. But we give it to the students in such a way that they have to fill in the blanks. And then these students work through a series of questions. And then when they get to this certain point, they're invited to make a formal virtual presentation. Now, when we are all together, which we're hoping to back in 2022, we'll be back together again, they are making stand-up presentations in front of a group of judges that ask them questions to find out how much they really know about what they did. So they are putting together an estimate, an approach of work, quality schedule, quality programs, all these types of things, staffing schedules, all of this. And you see some of them, I've been watching them all morning. I've been watching some of the most interesting CAD and 3D drawings and BIM drawings happening and all this movement. See, that's what people are getting to understand now, that the technology in our industry, both from the construction management side and the higher ed and community college, as well as the technology out there in the employee's hand on a job site, is going up. It's not the same old, same old.
Okay. And what that means to me, though, is from that explanation you gave, is that, okay, the apprenticeship may be the lowest level, but then once you start in terms of getting the education, the mentorship, the exposure to all the different ramifications of being in construction, you would be amazed at all the different things you can do. Not only do you build it, you maintain it, you inspect it, you provide the cost analysis of it. It's just so many things that you can do.
It's bigger than anything that you could ever imagine as far as the opportunities. And you know, when I say entry, and I like what you said there. It is a low level when you think about it in that terms. Don't let this be discouraging to anybody out there. You got to start somewhere, right? And even a college graduate walking into an organization is not going to start out in the CEO's office. He or she is going to start at some level that is going to help them build upon what they learn in school, because school can't teach you everything. Sometimes you got to get out there and do something with what you've learned. And so don't be afraid to start with what you know and then build on what you've got, and make sure that you have said, this is where I want to be in 3, 4, 5 years. This drive-through microwave society, thinking we're going to all take pills one day and be smart as all get out, it's just not going to happen. You're going to have to learn something. And once you learn it, nobody can ever take it away from you.
Well, let me ask you, there are 4 main construction training education components. Give me what the objectives are, the length of the training, and any licensing, certification, or degree outcomes. And we'll start with the career and technical education, CTE courses. So what are those 4 main components?
So when you begin to think about, again, let's talk about length, because that's really important. I don't want people to get frustrated with it. But as I said before, program lengths for trades are typically 3 to 4 years, depending on the trade or the craft, depending on where you're at. And generally speaking, the choice to pursue career technical education in high school provides you with a leg up. Okay, as much as in some instances 2 years. towards journey level status upon graduation. You think about this. You started when you were in the 11th grade as a junior, and you stuck with this for 2 years. There's a probability that you could get the related instruction and the skills you needed that would get you a 2-year leg up walking out the back door. And there's not a contractor in America today that wouldn't look at you and say, if you are that competent, I've got an opportunity for you. Now, that's what career technical education does for us in the high school world. But let me be clear, career technical programs in many schools meet the math and science requirements for secondary and or post-secondary education. And so, additionally, many community colleges offer articulation agreements that allow you to apply what you learn in an apprenticeship program towards an actual degree, which is fascinating when people say, well, I can get a degree at no cost to me because I'm learning and earning, and now the college is going to give me credit for what I know. That's a win-win proposition.
It is. All right. So we have the CTE, we have the apprenticeship where you actually work for the company and get your training, which you've alluded to. We have 2-year community colleges, which in some cases you can get some credit for your apprenticeship, but at the same time, they have training that's available to get you to where you need to be if you didn't get it in high school.
Absolutely.
And then you have
chapters and affiliates use the community college system to deploy all of our education. Many of our chapters have physical stick and brick facilities, and some of them have campuses that would rival any community college. But having said that, there are many of our chapters, because they're covering entire states, are leveraging the community college system to do the craft-based education, the technology-based education, and even the construction management education that these young people need to get into our industry and be successful.
All right. And then we're going to go through the fourth component, which a lot of parents, a lot of students don't realize that you can get a 4-year degree in some type of construction major, such as construction management, engineering, architecture. Explain a little bit about those 4-year opportunities, or even higher, a master's degree.
You can. I mean, you can get a doctorate in engineering if you like, and by the time you get your PE or your professional engineering license, that's even more significant. But see, these are all fields of study that those bound for college should explore. Okay, a recent survey of construction management graduates found, okay, that those graduates had typically 3 offers of employment and a starting salary of over $70,000 per year for their first job out of college. That's those young men and young women that are in engineering, architect, and construction management. So let me put it this way. Without the designers, it cannot be built.
It can't be done.
Construction management covers areas like cost and scheduling, quality, and most importantly, safety and those types of things. So those career tracks inside of colleges today are another one of the best kept secrets of most colleges in America. They'll push you towards a business degree, or they'll push you towards a liberal arts degree, or they'll push you towards X, Y, or Z. I'm asking the moms and dads, or the young men and the young women that are about to graduate and considering or have been picked up for a school, make sure you go by the actual facilities where people are doing the construction management and talk to those students, because they probably have the bug. They've probably been bit by the mosquito that goes, oh, this is the craziest thing in the world. I need to do this the rest of my life.
Well, let me ask you this. I saw that APC has what's called a national, at colleges, the National Student Chapter Network. What does that mean in terms of you're at a college and you want to find out more? What is that?
So you mentioned earlier that we have 69 chapters across America. And the reason we have 69 instead of 50 is because some of our chapters, like California and Texas and others, have multiple chapters just because they're so big, right? Mm-hmm. But we have relationships with the 4-year institutions that our chapters track or maintain, and they are ones that sponsor these men and women in these programs. They provide them with education, they provide them with access to contractors, they provide them with additional resources to be successful in their career choice to go after this particular degree. And these are 4-year institutions. As I said, our construction management competition this week, we've got 14 schools that are the top of the game here, that are competing in a competition that they're all given the exact scope of work, and we will recognize the best of the show, the second best, and the third best out of all of these things. And this is big bragging rights for these students in these programs to say we're the best of the best in the country.
Okay. Well, what happens if you didn't go construction management? What happens if you didn't go architecture or civil engineering and you had IT, public relations, human resources, something that's not in the mold for construction? Do you have a place in the construction industry?
Absolutely, Valerie. Listen, the rate of change in our industry, listen, we've got CPAs and just about every construction firm in America. We've got attorneys that look over contracts. We got marketing people that promote our business. We got IT people that keep our computers running, right? So if somebody's already pursuing a degree, you seek out those job fairs that focus on construction. And again, these are all occupations that are integral. They're an integral part of the construction industry.
Now, let me ask you this, because it seems like, okay, you can hit the hammer, you can run the line, you can put in the plumbing, but it's not just that. From what I'm hearing, the construction industry has technology that is pretty vast. As a matter of fact, I was reading about construction trends, and some of the things that they discussed were virtual reality, building information modeling, BIM, digital twins, drones, 3D printing, and this is all the digital construction trends, which improve safety, increase production, reduce costs due to building visualization. What makes this so exciting in the industry and interesting?
Well, what's interesting for us that's been in the construction for as long as I have is that our industry is ripe and ready for disruption. We're ripe and ready for this influx and this move towards technology in all the areas that will, one, make us more safe and make us more efficient, right? When you can 3D model a building and you know all of the clash points and all the things inside of that model long before you ever start to pour the first foot of concrete or dig the first spoonful or shovelful of dirt, you know that's a safer job site. When you've got robotics in spaces and places where people are actually having to, where they would normally have been in the past, they don't have to do it with drones. We were talking today on a conversation I was in, the ability to go up and look at a multi-story building where people used to have to hang off the side of those things and shut down tolerances. They can now send drones up with cameras. And, you know, these are skills that not only, you know, it's not only technology, but they're skills that we've got to have. People have got to be able to fly these things and build these things and do these things. Think about this as an example. We've got equipment on job sites across America today that have GPS that no longer require somebody to sit in a cab, but somebody's got to program the computer that tells that thing what to do. Even the cab of a crane that you see in your city anywhere in America today is now a high-tech environment with wind calculators and load detectors and cameras. And it's all focused on improving safety, efficiency, and productivity. And listen, while this will require a lot of new skills and competencies for both the current and the future workforce, I believe the future of our workforce has a lot of these competencies and almost an utter dependence upon this technology that they're going to bring into our industry going forward.
And I agree with you, because it is a disruption to see something different from what we've always seen. And what you're saying, we have a multi-story building, and instead of sending someone up there to see what's going on, you take a drone and you fly it out there and you see what's going on. Or the software to image a building before it even gets built. I mean, it's amazing. And we can talk for hours about just that.
This is a generation, and I say this as an older gentleman in this industry, there's a generation behind us that have literally grown up with these in their hands. They understand this computer more so, and what we've got, because the back door, as I said a moment ago, is bigger than the front door. We've got more reverse mentoring happening in our industry today than you could ever imagine. That's the young people. The more seasoned professionals, what to do with this. Listen, Valerie, you know as well as I do, I use about 10% of what this thing can possibly do. And what I see young people doing with them today is just what my grandchildren do with it. It's just incredible to me. And so they're bringing a skill set, a natural, I grew up with this thing, to the industry that is going to make them better, faster, smarter than the average person. I believe that with all my heart.
Okay, so they just have to get into the ground floor in terms of the various training, CTE, apprenticeship, a 4-year degree where you're actually working in the industry, and community college. And once they get their foot in the door, then they can bring those skill sets and that intellectual curiosity to coming up with a better, more efficient way.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You can dream it, you can be it.
You can be it. Now, in a politically neutral response,
yeah.
How will the Biden administration's $2 trillion infrastructure plan open up more opportunities for construction jobs and workforce development?
Well, in the politically neutral response, listen, our nation is in strong bipartisan agreement that America's crumbling roads and bridges and schools and water and energy and transportation systems are in desperate need of modernization in order to accelerate our strong economic comeback and to keep our country competitive in a global economy. Now, depending on what side of the aisle you may be on, the idea is, we have concerns about excluding certain people from being able to participate. We have concerns about certain firms not being able to bid. But the idea is if it's infrastructure, let's truly focus on it. Let's make sure that we include, if you're thinking about this from an inclusion standpoint, you're including the 87% of the workforce that want to work one particular way versus another way. And we want to make sure that we are not increasing the cost or the burden on the taxpayers, and all the while reducing job creation by saying it has to be done this way or that way. The reality is we need to open market and say, if this is truly infrastructure, let's rebuild America. Let's rebuild stronger than we have. If we're going to make this strong economic comeback and be competitive in the global market, then we're going to have to invest, and we're going to have to use every resource and every option available to make this happen.
Okay. And piggybacking off of what you said in terms of the young people coming up and they're teaching the more mature workforce, what I see is people say, well, infrastructure, highways, dams, tunnels, schools, but we're actually also talking about broadband that requires an infrastructure. We're talking about solar, which requires electricity. We're talking about wind turbines, which is electricity, running cables. And then not only do you have to build it, these have a lifespan. So you have to maintain the infrastructure. What are your thoughts on that in terms of a vision for not just the concrete thing?
My entire life was spent in the industrial environment. Again, if you can refine it, manufacture it, that was the space and place. And you don't build those facilities with, the idea of I'm only going to produce X amount. Well, you build those things in perpetuity. You build those things to be perpetual machines that last forever, right? And you're hitting on something that's very, very important. Whether you choose new build construction or whether you choose to work more in the maintenance side of that, maintenance and sustaining side of that, it's still the same. The same skills that are needed are transferable in either space or place. And so when you begin to think about the things that you mentioned, like solar and wind, and you begin to think about, even the infrastructure of going to a 5G platform or whatever it may look like in the not too distant future, those are towers, turbines, those are solar farms. Listen, here's the thing I want to tell the people listening to me. You've got to have some common sense to be able to work in that industry. Dummies do not build manufacturing facilities. This is not something for somebody who just barely skates by. These are the smartest people in the world that know how to do this. Now, did they get that way overnight? Listen, I'm not that smart. I've got 40 years in this industry, but the reality is again, you take that portable, stackable learning, and over time, you all of a sudden build your own personal value proposition. Because here's what a construction worker does that is similar to anybody else in the world in many industries, other than the fact that they have a skill and they can then sell that skill to the highest bidder. Think about that for a moment. And if you're not making the money you want to make in anywhere in America, and you think everywhere in America is the space you need to be in, you can pick that skill up and go over there and do whatever you want to with it. You can find that place. And this is portable, it's stackable, it's movable. You can go to the work where it is, when it is. That's the beauty of our industry.
Okay, and it incorporates the insights, the inspiration of our young people to give them that dream if they want to pursue it. Now, let me ask you this. From a 2018 National Association of Women in Construction statistic, and the construction industry employs more than 11.2 million people in the United States alone. Of that, nearly 90% of the industry is male. How does the industry recruit more women? Because there's job security, there's great pay. I was looking at an NBC News report that typically women make, it's 82 cents to a man's dollar.
Yeah.
Black women, 63 cents to the dollar, 55 cents for Hispanic women. But in the construction industry, it's 99.1%. Eventually it'll be 100%. So there's career advancement. How do you get women into this?
Well, this is an education moment. This platform right here allows us that opportunity to say there are opportunities in our industry for anybody. And I say race, creed, color, gender, grouping, whatever you may be. Does the average woman really know that construction offers numerous career opportunities and competitive wages? No. Okay. So how do we, listen, I can only do so much in Washington, D.C. I can scream and holler and run up and down the roads here and say, this is the most wonderful industry in the world. But what we've got to do is take this narrative locally. It's got to go to your hometown and my hometown. And you've got to start talking to the school boards and say, we need to energize our career technical education, because if you really want to close a wage gap, there's not much to close in the construction industry. You just pointed that out, right?
Yeah.
99.1% of what men earn. And I can tell you this, Associated Builders and Contractors, a concerted effort. We have seen a trend of women in leadership and supervisory positions in our industry going up over the last 3 years. And so at the end of the day, this is something that we've got to start telling people about. And again, I hope that this goes viral. That would only be my dream. But at the end of the day, this is an education moment to let women know, let Hispanics know, let Asian Americans know, let young people know, let second chance people know, let veterans know, whatever this may be. Construction can help you do what you want to do. And you know what? You put in the time, you're going to make the dime. That's the name of the game.
It's true. It's true. And you're preaching to the choir, because now I'm like, want to get up there with you and say amen. This is true. Now, let me ask you this. What are the best things about being a trade professional and the worst? Keep it brief, but what are some of the best things and what are some of the worst?
The best thing is my life. And if anybody looks at it, I was like any other kid in America today. I graduated high school thinking I was going to go to college and went to work on my first construction job site. And I said, man, this is the most incredible experience of my entire life. And yeah, it was hard. We talked about that. I figured out 2 weeks into it, I was smarter than a shovel. But the reality is all I had to do was tell somebody I'm smarter than that shovel, in a very polite way, by the way. And they helped me find the other opportunities. So the best thing about the industry is if you want to be it, you can do it. If you want to put in the time, again, you can make the dime. It's what it's about is the opportunities, an ecosystem. And again, my career was not straight up and down on a ladder that I was going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My career was more of, I want to take advantage of that opportunity. I want to take advantage of this opportunity. The worst part of it, there is no worst part other than the fact
Come on, you got to give us something. You got to give us something.
You're going to have to listen, this doesn't come overnight. It does not come overnight. And here's what I tell people all the time. We have what I call a simple 3-2-1 philosophy, right? You do everything to the best of your abilities, okay? You take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way, because when you reach my age, the rings on the merry-go-round are less and less to grab at, right? But you take advantage of those opportunities, you always expand your network. The reality of those 3 things will carry you a long way in life. 2 things that I absolutely live by. Leadership is something that starts in the heart and is executed by the head. And it's not a title. Although I have this really long title, leadership is not on the, I choose to be a leader in my heart and I execute it with my head. Also, it's okay to be second. It's okay to be second to your family. It's okay to be second to your employer. It's okay to be second to your wife or your husband or your spouse or your significant other. It's okay. to be second. Sometimes letting others get ahead of you is the most fulfilling things in life. And then lastly, I would say this to a young man or a young woman sitting out there wondering what I'm going to do with my life is I want you to look back over your history and say, listen, I've got faith that where I'm at right now, I've got the foundational skills and this much initiative to be better than where I am or to go where I want to be. That's called a 3-2-1 philosophy. The worst part of it is it doesn't happen overnight. And we've created this identity that is drive-through, microwave, push a button, mini-second thing, and it doesn't happen that way. So worst is having to swallow that jagged little pill that's going to take me time to get there. But when I do, you're never going to take it back from me.
Okay, so you have to work hard and you have to do what you have to do to move up that ladder because it's not going to come overnight.
Absolutely.
So this is my last question, which gets to the point of what do you recommend is the best way for an interested high school student or college student to start researching specific trades and pursuing potential construction careers? What is the best method to let them know, where do I start? If you don't have a shop class, where do I start?
Yeah, if I was going to give advice to my son
or daughter,
I talked to you earlier and I told you that my son was in the military. But if I was going to give advice to my son or daughter, my daughter works in the construction industry, is I said, go out to the internet. You're probably a lot more savvy than I am. And you just selfishly, from an Associated Builders and Contractors standpoint, look up your local ABC chapter, Associated Builders and Contractors. And then I wouldn't mind if out of this phone, out of this interview, if you will, this conversation that you and I are having, if the phone lines at every ABC chapter in America just light up. Okay? That would be selfish.
that would be perfect.
Is look at the word apprenticeship, look at the words trade-based education, look at the word construction career fairs. Because again, I believe it's the best kept secret in America today, but is the best opportunities for America's workers to achieve their dreams. And I say that because I think with a little bit of research, when I was growing up, we had encyclopedias, right? And we didn't have the internet. And so spend some time on the internet, Google the words that mean something, construction in my area, construction companies. We are ripe. We're ready for people to come knocking on our door and say, yes, I am employable and I have the skills, foundational skills to be successful in your organization. And I guarantee you'll get an interview. Now, it's yours to lose at that point. Let me be real clear about it. It's yours to lose. But if you'll start looking in the right spaces and places, using the word construction, career technical education, those are the spaces and places you need to look, not necessarily always go into what higher ed institution out there, or I want to be this or I want to be that. Construction is an opportunity of a lifetime for many of America's workers.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Greg, for all of your inspiration, for all of your knowledge over a 40-year career. You, as well as ABC, are advocates to train our workforce in a future that has to rival all of the other countries, because we say America is the best country in the world, but we have to build and invest in it to maintain that status. And infrastructure is part of that. So I'm going to say one last thing. If a young person is unsure, what do you say to them as a last parting gift?
Why not?
Okay.
If you've been conditioned and told a narrative of what success looks like, why not look at construction? Because I guarantee you they didn't say go in construction. I'll leave you with this right quick, Valerie. And I said a moment ago that I get the honor and the privilege of working in Washington, D.C. on behalf of an industry that I get very emotional about. I love it. And I say this on you're in Maryland and I'm in D.C., right? In August, when it's 100 degrees and 92% humidity and your air conditioner doesn't work, I don't care how many letters you got behind your name or what sheepskin you got hanging on the wall. The smartest person in the world is an HVAC technician. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
Yes, you're right.
So why not shift your paradigm? Why not look at it differently? Why not give it the credit it's due? Because you can't do anything in America today without construction first doing something. You can't ride in a car. You can't drive on a road. You can't sleep in your bed. You don't have a bed to sleep in unless a construction worker did it. So why not change your paradigm?
Well, thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate your being on Employer Speaks. And do you have anything else that you'd like to say?
Like I say to you, anyone listening to this thing, welcome to the industry if you make that choice. Thank you so much for having me on today. And I hope I was able to just unpackage some of the opportunities that are available for those that want to go into our industry. Valerie, thank you so much for what you're doing. And thank you on behalf of our association and the 21,000 member firms that are looking for the next generation of the best and the brightest to come into it.
Okay. We should be singing Kumbaya because you made a convert of me. And I truly believe in trades as a profession. And now I'm even more so on board. So thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate it.